Hello, welcome to the module on writing essentials. In this series on sentences, this is lecture number 8 and we are dealing with subject-verb agreement. What do we mean by subject-verb agreement in a sentence? When the subject of a clause, the person or thing doing the action, matches the verb in number, both singular or both plural, we say the subject and verb are in agreement. That means if a subject of a clause is singular, the verb should also be in singular. If the subject of a clause is plural, then the verb should also match it by being in plural. Here we have a little letter from a person to his manager. Look at the section on the left side. Here, Tinku is writing to Jaideep and is talking about a problem that arose between the members in the company. Look at his letter. The painters was having trouble with the watchman yesterday. He don't think he should help with unloading supplies. Every one of the painters are just as busy as he is. The painters think he should do his part too. They wasn't very happy with him when he refused. Mohsin and Mani is thinking about filing a complaint. Neither the painters nor the watchman need this verse. Maybe you can see if either the painters or the watchman is willing to find a better solution. Now when we read this paragraph, the very first instance we observe that the subjects and the verbs are not matching in number. The same could be written as such what we find in the right side of the screen. The painters, because it's plural, were having trouble with the watchman yesterday. He, being singular, doesn't think he should help with unloading supplies. Every one of the painters, the whole phrase is singular, is just as busy as he is. The painters think he should do his part too. They weren't very happy, they being plural, weren't very happy with him when he refused. Mohsin and Mani, being plural, are thinking about filing a complaint. Neither the painters nor the watchman needs this verse. Maybe you can see if either the painters or the watchman is willing to find a better solution. Now we observe that there were mistakes in the number of the subjects and the verbs in the previous example. So let's now learn how to comply with subject-verb agreement in different cases in the sentences. A subject should agree with its number in number, verb in number. In other words, if a subject is singular, the verb must be singular. He looks, he does, he was. In each of these cases, the subject is singular, hence the verb is also singular. If the subject is plural, the verb must be plural. They look, they do, they were. However, the subject I, even though it is a single person, usually takes the plural form. So we have I look, I do, I am. Now, if we are unsure whether a subject is singular or plural, we can apply a simple test. We need to fill in the blanks in the two sentences that follow with the matching form of the verb. The verb form that best completes the first sentence is singular. The verb form that best completes the second sentence is plural. he, and we can put a dash, and if the verb form, we can just use the verb form, and we'll observe when we say it that the form with s of the base verb is generally more suitable or matches with he rather than they. But there are problem verb forms and constructions. Generally, the verb form to be, that is, we have be, am, is, are, was, and were, can pose special problems because the principal parts are formed in such unusual ways. Now let's look at some of these. If the subject is I and the present form is I am, the past form is I was, the past participle form is I have been. In case of you, it's you are, the past form is you were, and the participle form is you have been. In case of he, she, or it, which is the third person, we have he is, or she is, or it is. Similarly, in the past case, it is he was, she was, or it was. In the participle case is it has been, he has been, or she has been. In case of plural, we are, we were, we have been. The plural they are, they were, they have been. So we should never use the be form after a subject. That is the plain be form. Like if I say I be going, it's wrong. Either I can say I am going or I was going. And if I say they be on their way, it's also wrong. Either they are on their way or they were on their way. Two other constructions often cause problems for us, that is doesn't and don't, which means does not or do not, and wasn't or weren't, which means was not or were not. Now doesn't and wasn't are singular, whereas don't and weren't are plural. Of course, we have to remember that I always takes the plural form. I don't want to move until next year. She doesn't want to move until next year. They don't want to move until next year. So we observe here, if it's singular she, it's always doesn't, and if it's plural they, it's don't. Of course, I always takes the plural form, so I don't. I wasn't sure and you weren't sure. Now if in case of you, it's not you wasn't sure, it's you weren't sure, and when it's plural, it's we weren't sure. Now phrases following subjects don't affect the verbs. Now we need to pay careful attention to the subject in a sentence. There can be phrases which follow the subjects, and if that phrase can, if it's a plural or singular, generally it misleads us into using a verb that does not agree with the subject. So we need to be careful that whatever the phrases may be which follow the subjects, they do not affect the verbs. One of the chairs is damaged. Now the subject, pronoun subject, here reads one, and the phrase after that is of the chairs, where chairs can give us a notation of being plural, but since the pronoun one is singular, the verb should follow the pronoun which is the subject, and it should be singular, is. The window designs by Rick Baker. Now the subject is designs and not Baker, which is just a phrase. So the window designs, which is plural, should be followed by a plural verb are, not is. A manual with thorough instructions comes with this printer. Manual is singular, so the verb is singular comes. The principal, along with her three associates, returns. The principal, again being singular, the verb is returns. Although the phrase following it gives us an idea of something plural, it's not plural. There are some special singular subjects and we need to take care of them when we write in a sentence. Some nouns are singular even though they end in s. Despite that they sound plural, they require a singular verb because we think of them as a single unit. Some of them are like measles, mumps, news, marbles, games, physics, economics, mathematics, civics, athletics, sports, politics, statistics. So there could be names of subjects, name of diseases, names of games, etc. So though they end with s, they do not mean plural, but they are singular. The news is over at 9:30. It's never the news are over. Darts is my favorite game. It's never darts are my favorite game. Okay. Sports is a healthy stress reliever. Low impact aerobics is best for older adults. Sometimes in subjects we can have amounts or fractions. When we have amounts as subjects, the words that express an amount may be singular or plural. Amounts are singular when the amount is thought of as a unit, and plural when the amount is thought of as many parts. Now let's look at some examples. $6 is the price of a hamburger at the corner bistro. Now $6 is thought of as one unit. Hence, it's taken as singular. $6 are lying on the table. Now here, $6 are thought of separately. So they are plural. 3 hours was a long time to wait for the bus. 3 hours of each day were dedicated to studying. Now in the first case it's one unit of time. In the second case it's separate times. A fraction is singular when it refers to a singular word and plural when it refers to a plural word. For example, 1/4 of my time is spent at the gym. Now the fraction refers to singular noun time. 1/4 of the people are here for the cooking class. The fraction refers to plural noun people. So when we have fractions as subjects, if it refers to a singular word, we use singular verb. If it refers to a plural word, we use plural verbs. We need to make pronoun subjects match their verbs in number. A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. So all of the cookies were decorated. The word all stands for or refers to cookies and acts as the subject. Pronouns used as subjects present a problem for all speakers of English because some pronouns are always plural like all and other pronouns are always singular like every or each. Some of these are also called indefinite pronouns because they refer to no one specific person or thing. So some pronouns can either be singular or plural. So depending on that type of pronoun, which is, if it is always singular, it will take always singular verbs. If it is always plural, it will take plural verbs. But if it can be either singular or plural, then depending on the situation, we should use either a singular or a plural verb. Now let's look at those pronouns which are always singular. Because they are always singular, they require singular verbs. Pronouns such as each, one, anyone, no one, everyone, someone, nobody, everybody, somebody, anybody, someone, either, neither, all of these pronouns are singular in nature. So they essentially require singular verbs. Look at these examples. Someone always forgets to sign in. Neither child wants to miss the fireworks. Each of the members feels that an increase in dues is justified. Everybody here thinks the car should be fixed instead of traded in for a new model. Now, someone, neither, each, everybody, because they are singular nouns, they always take singular verbs. Forgets, wants, feels, thinks. Now, each, either, and neither are the pronouns generally commonly they are misused. Now we can avoid making mistakes when using these pronouns by like mentally replacing the other words between the pronoun and the verb with the word one. So if you are just confused if it's singular or plural, we can just use this word one and place it between the pronoun and the verb to see if it's like singular or plural. For example, each of the boys wants his own car. Now here in this case, like we can be confused if boys, the word boys can make us confused about if it's a plural verb. So what we can do is we between the pronoun each and the verb wants, we can just use the word one. So each one, then suddenly we understand that this is singular. Wants his own car, it's not want. So we can do this way to get the feel if it's singular or plural if you are not sure. Either of the associates knows where the records are kept. So if we can just keep one, either one knows where the records are kept. So it becomes easier for us to see that, oh, this is singular in nature. Sometimes we have question words like has, have, is, are, etc. For questions beginning with has or have, uh, we need to be sure that like has is singular, have is plural. The correct verb is easier to identify if you turn the question into a statement. When we are confused, we can just turn the question into a statement to see if it's singular or plural. For example, if we are confused if it's is or are, is some of the advertisers noticing the difference, or are some of the advertisers noticing the difference? If you're confused, then we can just turn it into a statement. Some of the advertisers, and suddenly we understand it's plural, are noticing the difference. Either of the inspectors has filed a report, because now we understand that it cannot be has or have, it can only be has. Does each of the trucks have a hoist, or do each of the trucks have a hoist? Then suddenly we have to like turn it into a statement. Each one of the trucks does have a hoist. There are some pronouns which are always plural in nature. Because these are always plural, they require a plural verb. Both, many, few, several. But there are other pronouns which can be plural or singular depending on the situation, like all, none, any, some, or most. Now, the words that these pronouns refer to determine whether the verbs are singular or plural. For example, all of the work is planned. Now, all refers to work, which is singular, so the verb is singular. All of the jobs are planned. Now, all refers to a plural word or plural noun, jobs. Hence, we have a plural verb are. Is any of the pie remaining? Again, it's singular pie. Are any of the pieces of pie remaining? Now, pieces is plural, so we have are. Most of the milk was sour. Most of the glasses of milk were empty. None of the time was spent very well. None of the hours were spent very well. Some of the fruit was shipped. Some of the apples were shipped. So, depending on what these pronouns refer to, if it's a singular word, then we have singular verbs. If they are plural words, then we have plural verbs. Sometimes we can have compound subjects. That is, a compound subject is something made up of two or more subjects that are joined by a conjunction like and or nor, and that share the same verb. So if two singular nouns or pronouns are joined by and, they require a plural verb. For example, he and she, that means both, want to take a vacation. So we have a plural verb want. Jack and Jill, again it's both, insist on finding a flat prairie on which to walk. So insist, again it's plural. But singular subjects joined by or nor. In this case, if they are joined by or nor, they require a singular verb. If they are joined by and, they require a plural verb. If they are joined by or nor, they require a singular verb. Art or Elaine wants to get a new car. That means Art wants to get a new car, Elaine wants to get a new car. So that's why we write Art or Elaine wants, a singular verb, a new car. Singular and plural subjects which are joined by or and nor. So when singular or plural subject joined by or nor, they require a subject that agrees with the subject closest to the verb. Now let's look at this example. Neither of the coach nor the players like the lineup. Now in the first case, the verb like is very close to the plural verb players, plural word players. So because the word is plural, we have a plural verb like. If we rewrite that, neither of the players nor the coach likes the lineup. Here the verb is nearer to the singular noun coach, so the verb becomes singular. So verbs agree with subjects, not the words following the verb. So there can be sometimes many words following the verb, but verbs do not generally agree with those, but they agree with the subjects which precede the verb. Taxes were the biggest issue in the campaign. Now in this case what we find is we have the subject taxes, which is plural, but then we have a singular word like biggest issue. So we need not look at issue here because we are generally, the subject is taxes, so the verb has to agree with taxes and not the issue. The biggest issue, now here it's singular, in the campaign was taxes. So when we rewrite that and we put the plural word at the end, okay, the verb becomes naturally the singular. A serious problem for corn growers is weeds. Problem singular is. Weeds are a serious problem for corn growers. Weeds plural are plural. When a sentence asks a question or begins with the word there or here, the subject generally follows the verb. So when the subject follows the verb, we need to locate the subject of the sentence and make certain that the verb matches it and not here or there. Let's look at an example. What is the terms of the agreement? Now, generally, it is wrong because we are assuming that what is the subject, which is not. They are empty subjects. And the subject is terms of the agreement. So, the correct would be what are the terms of the agreement, because in case of empty subjects, the subject follow the verb. We need to locate the subject and look if it is singular or plural. And once we find its number, then the verb will accordingly go according to the number of the subject. Why is these words garbled? Now again, words is plural, so it has to be why are his words garbled. Here's the statistics they compiled. Here are the statistics they compiled. There is 6 students asking for help. There are 6 students asking for help. Sometimes we can have inverted subjects. Now, what are inverted subjects? Inverted sentences contain a subject that follows rather than precedes a verb. Is similarly with empty subjects, we have to locate the subject in an inverted sentence and make certain that the verb agrees with it. For example, inside your drawer is the documents I finished. Now documents is plural. Now this is an inverted sentence because here we have the subject following the verb is. So the correct form would be inside your drawer all the documents I finished. Out of nowhere comes three new accounts. Out of nowhere come three new accounts because three new accounts is plural. Up in the stands go the fan who spilled my drink. Up in the stands goes the fan who spilled my drink because the fan is singular and it would take goes rather than go. Okay, now we have learned so many different ways in which we can get confused of the subject-verb agreement in sentences. So now let's try to put them all to use by matching the subject with the correct verb in each of these following sentences. The child dash want to go to bed just yet. Doesn't or don't. Now the child is singular, so it has to be doesn't. One of the assignments dash missing. Now it's not assignments which is the subject, but it's the pronoun one. So one of the assignments is missing. Aerobics, though it has s, but it's a singular noun, so is good for general health and weight management. Either of these faucets. Now either or neither. Now either of these faucets is fine for the bathroom sink. Either Eugene or Bernice. Now here we have two people, so either Eugene or Bernice so wants to go on a week-long cruise. There is an empty subject and the actual subject is files, so there aren't many files left to read. Neither the coach nor the players, now players is the nearer to the verb, so players is plural, so it's know the score. Neither the players nor the coach, now it's singular, so knows the score. The manager as well as the associates, now as well as the associates is just a phrase following the subject manager, which is singular. So the manager is scheduled to work the late shift. The package is singular, wasn't where we had left it. Right. So now we have understood the different patterns where the subject should agree with the verb, and this is one of the most basic components of writing sentences.